Welcome to Inside Games Daily, the only gaming news show brave enough to keep our prices the same.
That's right. Just a little bit of your time to suffer through a YouTube ad. If you did that, thank you, by the way. But for a change of pace, we got some good news to share about video games today.
That is pretty rare. Xbox broke tradition and announced really good news. Look, well, I'll get to the end of the episode. I know this is good news. No matter how you slice it, it is. The Outer Worlds 2 will no longer be $80.
Oh, now I'm curious if Bruce has got some kind of thing. Oh, boy.
I do.
So, yeah, the game is reverting to its previously announced price of $70, and they announced this on social media this morning.
I know they're going to say we're all corporate bootlickers for being like, we did it, thanks, Xbox, but I promise, we'll get to the end of the episode. There's even more good news, by the way, for Xbox. A statement sent to media outlets revealed that full-priced holiday releases from Xbox will also maintain the $70 price.
That's awesome. And fully unexpected. I thought for sure Call of Duty Black Ops 7, that's the big one this holiday. Apparently that's going to be $70. And I imagine if Activision were still on their own, there's no chance that would have happened. That's just a theory for me. But this also might include Ninja Gaiden 4, which Xbox Game Studios is publishing, and usually the publisher is the one that sets the price, so they didn't say that explicitly, but I'm going to go ahead and assume, yeah, we still got $70 for Ninja Gaiden.
I would agree. Folks that pre-ordered The Outer Worlds 2 at the higher price of $80 should be able to get refunds at the storefront or location they purchased the game, but they know it might take a day or two for refunds to available at all retailers.
Yeah, now as to why this is surprising, apart from the in general, nothing goes down in price these days. Even though it never technically went up, it was just an announced thing. But yeah, there's been a trend that this kind of counteracts, which is nice. Xbox actually announced that their first-party games would jump from $70 to $80 back on May 1st, and that was announced with a raft of other console and accessory price hikes.
Yeah, this announcement came about a month after Nintendo announced that Mario Kart World would retail for $80. The end... Wait, hold on. I want to say the beginning of the end. Because once Nintendo announced $80, all those other corpos said, what? We get extra $10?
Somebody else did it first.
Yeah.
And now they won't be as mad at us, but people were still mad. Before that, Xbox raised the price of their first-party games from $60 to $70 in 2023.
Oh, wow.
Which wasn't that long ago. Yeah, they were actually one of the last $60 holdouts for whatever that's worth. They were trying to be the value brand during COVID and all that, and it didn't really get them much, it seems.
No, and it's certainly not getting them much now after they've raised the prices even more on the console shit. And also, this move is more surprising given Xbox's multiple rounds of layoffs in the last 2 years. I have some speculation on that too, Lawrence. Go right ahead.
Oh, I'm so excited to hear all this. Because I was looking at the story and it's like, hey, this is simple. My little coconut brain couldn't come up with something contrarian for once, but yeah, going back to the layoffs, while we don't know the true impact of all these layoffs on the Xbox division specifically, the Xbox's parent company, Microsoft, laid off 10,000 employees in January 2023 and 9,000 employees earlier this month. And this last round of layoffs did affect Xbox pretty directly.
Yeah, it's easy to assume that Xbox is under pressure to raise profit margins by trimming payroll costs, of course, which makes price reductions pretty surprising. Honestly, there is a business side of this that I think maybe people don't want to hear. I have lots of fun little theories, Lawrence. My first theory is that, and this is going to sound maybe calloused, is that those layoffs may have enabled this price cut. Now, that is a kind of a crazy thing to think about because I do think that Xbox, not Microsoft as a whole, but Xbox, the gaming division, is floundering. And I think that they are not making money. They just raised the price on that console to $600. There's no way anybody's buying that. And now that they've announced that $80 price on Outer Worlds 2, and everyone was like, fuck you. We're not doing that. And everyone's like, they're using it to push the Game Pass, blah, 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 blah. Lowering it to $70, they need some goodwill here. Lowering it to $70 is going to do that. And I'm sure they already had the layoffs in the pipeline, but I think those layoffs may be something that is enabling us to get $10 off of our game. Now, how does that feel to you? That's a monkey paw for me, right? Like, I'm like, do I want more people to lose their jobs so I can save $10 on a video game? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Imagine that they had to shoot a bunch of developers with airsoft guns to enable this discount. Not so funny now, is it? I mean, I get what you're saying. It's a bit of a theoretical, but I can see, yeah, now that you brought it up, I hadn't really thought about it that way. it's possible Xbox had their profit and loss scheduled out for the rest of the year. And then 3 months ago, word from Microsoft comes down, Phil, you got to cut like 800 jobs. So if their books are lighter for the rest of the year, it may have created some overhead where now they don't have to sell $80 games, theoretically. Man, that's the monkey paw curling up, I guess. Now, I guess the invert of that question is, would you be willing to pay $80 for all those people to keep their jobs? We can go down the devil's questions as far as we want, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess on a separate topic. I mean, that's a really interesting theoretical that I had never really considered, but I guess for me, I'm more confused as why they chose The Outer Worlds 2 to be their Vanguard $80 game in the first place. Having played it, I think I get it. Like, I got to play it for 20 to 30 minutes at Summer Game Fest, and it is a really surprisingly fun and triple A-ish game, and the kind we're not really used to from Obsidian. I think Avowed was a really good preview, but this is a first-person shooter, and like it kind of checks all the boxes that games that tend to do massively well have checked in the past. So I think from Xbox's perspective, they're seeing how this game is shaping up, and I think they see the ability of it to be $80, but I don't think anyone else is convinced that it's worth that, especially having played Outer Worlds 1, which wasn't bad, but it kind of had that old school RPG, slow, janky fuzziness to the interface and stuff. Meanwhile, Outer Worlds 2 really does play more like a twitchy action-oriented shooter. So in terms of the market, though, I don't think anyone was convinced it was worth $80, and certainly no one was excited to pay that for it. So now it's perceptively on discount. I kind of hope that makes more people give the game a shot or check it out a little more intently. I thought they were just going to make Call of Duty their first $80 game. Maybe that's too obvious, and now apparently they're not even going to do that. So yeah, it's kind of difficult to make sense of it in reverse unless what you said is true, and Xbox now suddenly has a bunch more money in the payroll, or they've freed up some like budgetary value that now they can refund to the audience to try to goose sales.
Maybe again, like just this crazy theory, something I had thought about when reading these stories. I don't necessarily say that it's true. I just think it's a theory. There's another thing, Lawrence, that we have not here on Inside Games don't often think about, but I promise you that the comments are going to say this. I promise you. The internet's going to say this. They're going to take a victory lap because they were the ones that lowered the price from $80 to $70. I promise you. And they were taking the same victory lap for Borderlands 4. Borderlands 4, where everyone was like, well, this game's going to be $80. They hadn't even announced the price yet. And Pitchford's like out there being like, well, if it's $80, you're going to pay it. And then they were like, no, it's going to be $70. And then the internet took a victory lap, right? So like, I think the internet's going to take a victory lap, and I honestly think kind of rightfully so. I think that the more we complain about this shit, the more it goes down. The more we say, hey, we're not going to buy this video game. I bet the pre-orders were relatively low for Outer Worlds 2, and they're like, oh shit, we've actually got to make this thing move copies because we have to pay people in our divisions to make more video games. So I do think that we should take a victory lap, that we were able to get the price down. And I'm going to even carry this further, Lawrence. Just anecdotally from my life, I eat out a lot. I love eating out. I love going, but I don't eat out I don't eat fancy meals. I go to like Chipotle and like Baja Fresh, just like that. I have noticed that prices have gone down a little. They've started offering things that are cheaper than they were a few months ago. There's a couple of local restaurants that I go to, the prices recently went up. And I was asking them why, and they were like, oh, minimum wage, California's expensive. Minimum wage went up, produce went up, et cetera, et cetera. But I've noticed the chains lowering prices and making things just a little cheaper. Not by much, but just a little bit. And I was like, is this the beginning of a trend? And it's exciting to see a video game go down. Same with Borderlands 4. I don't necessarily know the price went down on that, but Outer Worlds 2, the price went down. Like it went down from 80 to 70. And I'm hoping that we're going to stay at 70, other than fucking Nintendo, right? I hope that we stay at 70, and I hope that we have reached maybe the pinnacle of price raises for the next couple of years. Let's hope.
I agree. I think, you were kind of discussing this trend before we started recording, but games development is in an interesting spot right now where the audience has stopped growing to a degree. It's kind of plateaued. So we hit this inflection point in games budgeting where games were costing twice as much but not earning twice as much anymore. So now it's hitting the margin. What's the maximum return you can get for the most efficient investment? So now when you're going for trying to find that sales scale on a moderate team, it doesn't really reflect down into the price as much, since you're not throwing as much money behind it. It's like you can put you can put X dollars behind a game, it'll sell 2 million. You put double the money behind it, still sells 2 million. So I think in that regard, when your market is basically set, that also enables you to play, like, you can bank on the price being set now that all of the money earning is done on the back end. Now that it's like, okay, we have to get very clever about how we budget things, which I think is also why a bunch of publishers are salivating over AI. Theoretically, it will help very small teams produce very impressive results. An Expedition 33 is the kind of game any publisher wants. It's very cheap and sells a ton. So ideally, yeah, I think, to your point, Bruce, I hope we have hit the cap of games cost. Apart from the rare games that can break out of it. Star Citizen, technically not a game, but it can cost well over $80 if you want it to, I guess. I would like for there to be a world where we can still have mega games. They just cost $120. I'm not saying anyone should pay that. I just want to see those games. I would like to see the march of ridiculous games production keep going up. But I think the only way it can, especially when you have a fixed market to sell to, is if the price goes up. So there's a kind of game I would like to keep existing, and that I understand kind of necessitates a higher MSRP, but I don't want it to happen. I don't want you to pay more for games. I'm just talking about the field that we're looking at. But it's an interesting move. It buys some goodwill. And I think more than anything, it's the most direct thing you can do, right? It's not a gimmick. We're not tossing in a free DLC that we haven't announced, and you don't get a premium skin. You don't get to, we let you play a day early. No, it's $10 cheaper, and that's that. Although technically it was never 80 in the first place. That's kind of the weird thing. They bought themselves some goodwill by just saying the bad thing early, and now they're like, no, never mind.
They were selling it at 80 because people were buying it at 80.
Well, that's true. There were pre-orders and stuff like that. That's true.
Yeah. So they have to. So they were. I really do think this is a whole picture in the sense that the internet complained about it, everyone whined about it, which is whatever, here or there. But I do think the pre-orders were low. And so I think they saw that and were like, okay, well, this whole thing is bad all the way around. I'm sure that there was pressure from the devs from Obsidian to be like, please give us a chance with this video game. So they lowered it to, right? They lowered it to say $80 that's a huge, in my opinion, for Outer Worlds 2, I've played it. But for Outer Worlds 2, $80, that is almost a non-starter. And I love Obsidian. So I was like, I'm going to get that on Game Pass. There's no way I'm paying 80, but 70, maybe not so bad. We're in a very interesting time right now, I think, for prices, and I hope that they hold. I hope that that's the way it works. Battlefield's coming out, or they're going to do the trailer, announce it in a few days or weeks or whatever it's going to be, and people are already speculating that's going to be 70. If it's at 80, everyone's going to fucking balk at that. No one's going to want to pay 80 for that. The only thing we're not thinking about right now, Lawrence, is GTA. GTA 6, like you talked about with your how games production scales up, so then they're going to charge $100 or $120 or whatever. GTA 6 is sort of the last holdout there. I think that they're going to charge 80 or more for their game.
And then after GTA 6, I guess there's Witcher 4, but those kinds of games aren't really being made anymore, or at least they're not being announced anymore. Apart from that, we get our Mind's Eyes every 3 or 4 years where somebody tries to make a game like that, but that's just not where games budgeting is anymore. So, or maybe Like a Dragon is eventually kind of growing into that sort of mega game just because they've been adding on to it over the past 15 years. Yeah, we're getting into an interesting space, but luckily it seems like the enthusiast group have kind of gotten tired of all those big, opulent, expensive games and kind of likes the vibrant, small, contained indie experiences. So it's a good intersection of time and market condition.
Yeah, it is. And I will say, keep fighting the good fight out there. Keep trying to get them to lower the price, really. There's no harm in this. And I'm sure we'll even get called bootlickers for being like, they should have lowered it to 60. Unfortunately, that's kind of unrealistic. Games went up a while back. And that's what we're dealing with now. So it's good that the $80 price is getting a bounce back. It is. It's good. That's good. Let's keep it at that.
Right, and remember, you don't have to pay full price for any Xbox game. If you think you can beat it in a month, just buy 1 month of Game Pass, and if you're still playing it a month later, maybe it's worth another $12. Just
yeah, that's
a hashtag PC Game Pass partner. They do send me a free Game Pass code every month. Disclosure, disclosure, disclosure. But this has nothing to do with Game Pass, believe it or not. For a change of pace, I saw this trailer yesterday. It was so fucking awesome. I wanted to shout it out on the show. There's a fan project made in GZ Doom called Fallout Bakersfield. First of all, Bakersfield is a great setting for a Fallout game because you barely have to do anything. But second of all, this trailer looks fucking awesome. They brought a ton of the 2D Fallout aesthetic into a vaguely 3D game. You get the little Doom guy face in the bottom middle, but it looks like CG from the original Fallout games. Just the whole like mid to late 90s pre-rendered CG aesthetic. There's a retro vibe there that I really, really love. I mean, on it, you see a little bit of in DK Bonanza. They have some like throwback Donkey Kong Country levels that are just phenomenal. But anyway, this game's great. The music is awesome because I think they just pulled it from Fallout 2 and New Vegas. But yeah, everything looks great. The dude has a little tooth twinkle whenever you shoot a ghoul. So it's a fan project. Looks great. Give it a shot. Show your support.
Yeah, it's so inspired. What an inspired thing to make that I was like, that's such a great idea. So, we also got a couple of patrons that support our Inside Games Patreon every single month. They are taking that $10 savings on Outer Worlds 2 right to the racetrack.
Well, that training in Uma Musume, man.
Oh, yeah.
Make some money.
Zach the Hack and Shaky Pants, good luck. And bet on, what's her name? Like Rice Luck or something?
Oh, God.
Special week. That's what it is. Special week.